Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Canadian Immigration live Q&A with myself, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. Wow, there's a heat wave going across Canada, and it is a cooker today. It is super, super hot. Well, that's all right. Today, we're going to be talking about some new changes that have occurred with Express Entry that you absolutely have to pay attention to. And if you don't, well, you're going to come into a whole world of problems. All right. It is so good to be back. It is a beautiful summer day, and these are the days that we prize here in Canada. And better yet, tomorrow is one of the most important days in our country's celebratory schedule, and that is Canada Day. I am not going to be in the office tomorrow because hopefully I'm drifting down some nice alpine river on my inflatable kayak. That's my goal tomorrow. But every one of us is going to be celebrating Canada in our own way. And I am so grateful to be a Canadian citizen. And, you know, there's lots that's been happening, lots that's been going on lately with just looking back on Canada's history and reflecting on how we got here. And there were a lot of mistakes made along the way. And I think when you look at the world and what happened and the way the world, operated, 100 years ago or even less, it was full of racism. It was full of just all kinds of things that we clearly want to get rid of in this world to make it a better place. And my heart goes out to all of those communities and anyone that has suffered as a result of the residential schools and everything that's been coming to light. And my heart goes out to them. And I listened to this amazing message on my sports radio channel this morning with one of the chiefs in Saskatchewan who was talking about the need for all of us to heal and to look back on what happened and all of those things. And I don't mean to get into, this channel really isn't about those things, but realistically it is. And it's about looking back at our history and making sure that we do not repeat the mistakes of the past. It doesn't mean that we throw everything out the door. It doesn't mean that we don't celebrate Canada Day. Canada Day, our nation is as amazing as it is because of our willingness to look back on our history and to make changes going forward. And I think sometimes people, they don't appreciate what we have right now in this country. And if it wasn't for just the way the country is right now, if it was as awful as some people would want to paint it to be, well, the reality is we wouldn't even be taking these steps. We wouldn't recognize the mistakes of the past. We would just go forward just as if nothing had changed. And so from my perspective, I love my country. I am so proud of the direction that we're going, and we have a lot of work to do. But my goodness, as far as I'm concerned, we're a leader in this world. And just the ability to look back, reflect on what's happened. And those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, I think if you look at just look at the news and watch the recent news related to the unmarked graves that have been found, and so many more will be found across the country of young First Nations children that were taken away from their families and forced to go into these residential schools. It's a real blight. It's a dark mark in our country. And I can tell you that pretty much every country in the world is going to look back and see that they have similar things. And the beauty of our country is that we grow, we evolve, we become better. And we're constantly searching to make things right as much as we possibly can, learn from our mistakes and not repeat them and make it better for everyone. And, I'm so grateful, and I'm excited for Canada Day tomorrow. I'm very proud of my country. I'm proud of my citizenship. I'm proud to call myself Canadian. And I think many of you who are looking for an opportunity here in Canada, maybe you're working right now, maybe you're outside hoping these travel restrictions will lift and you'll have an opportunity to come and immigrate. And that's one of the things I'm going to be talking about today. I think all of us can appreciate that this is a country that really shines in the world, and a country where people want to come and they want to they want to be a part of this. And boy, our future is so bright here. I'm so excited. All right, guys, let's see. We got Elias is saying happy Canada Day in advance. Absolutely. I want all of you guys to celebrate and to really enjoy in this July 1st celebration that we have. And it means so much to so many. All right. Let's see who we've got here. Thesura, good to see you. As always, my friend. Thesura always jumps on. He was a past subscriber to my Express Entry step-by-step course and masterclass. And thanks to all of you who continue to pile into the TR to PR Pathway course. That program is awesome. And it is, for those of you who are essential workers who are looking at opportunities to immigrate, wow, there's lots of time and lots of opportunity. And it seems like every week I have at least, I'd say probably 4 or 5 consults alone, just specifically on TR to PR Pathway options and who can qualify. So Leonardo, I don't know what the he mark is. That's hilarious. All right, you bet. Good to see you as well. DIY June 21st. Awesome, Joe. Thanks for shouting out. Another subscriber to my Express Entry Masterclass. And we're looking at September. I had an individual reach out just yesterday saying, Mark, can I just have access to the videos for now? And then I can come in a little bit later. So we granted him access. And so if you're one of those people that desperately wants access to the Express Entry step-by-step course material, then just reach out and I'll find a way to either put you into the other group and then add you into the next group when it comes, the masterclass. Some of you, I know timing, I'm not planning on doing another Express Entry course through the summer. I've got 2 more that I'm looking at doing, the PR card extension course on that, as well as the spousal sponsorships. But if you do want access and you can see that it's not yet available, just let me know and we can probably work something out for you. All right, let's see here. Ralph, good to see you. And Ralph, my heart goes out to you and your family. I know Ralph and his family and Bella and Kai have had a real rough go of it the last couple months here. And so my heart goes out to your family. You guys know where I'm at and supporting you all. Please send my love to Bella and Kai, Ralph. All right. Okay, hello to you. Hyun, and okay, here's another one. We're getting questions already. Harneet says, can TR Tim Hortons cashier apply for TR to PR category? My friend, look at the duties. I've never heard, like I said repeatedly, I think I'm going to do an Express Entry, a special, I think TR to PR, I'm going to do a special video on this question. I get it asked more often than any other. And Harneet is basically, are you a food counter attendant? Or are you a cashier? And I've always taken the position every time I've done a lot of LMIAs for franchises, including, a lot, let's just put it that way, for many of them more common ones. And I can tell you that we always obtained food counter attendant LMIAs and food service supervisor LMIAs and assistant manager and manager. For restaurants, we obtained all of those, but never did we ever seek a cashier LMIA for the purposes of any of the franchises. So ultimately, the rules say if your duties align with a substantial number of the duties in the NOC, well, then it's supposed to equate. So I'm very curious to see what immigration is going to do. If I was an officer, I wouldn't accept it because I don't believe that truly is a cashier. I see a cashier as someone who's working at Safeway, like I've said before, but anything can happen. And if immigration is anxious to have a whole bunch of people come in and those who are they deliberately excluded, remember, they deliberately excluded the franchises, the fast food franchises in all forms. Otherwise, they would have included food counter attendants in that mix, but they didn't. And so, taking kind of a little sidetrack and trying to get in as a cashier, there's going to be a lot of you that are probably trying to do that, maybe just like Harneet. And I guess we'll have to see what happens. But it's something that I don't think personally it fits, but that's my opinion. And I'm not saying in any way that immigration could not, take a different position, although I would be surprised. Okay, we've got Amro, good to see you. Sudhir, good to see you. We've got a bunch of claps and everything. That's Anna Powtip's design. Awesome. We've got, and always let me know where you're tuning in from. And those of you who are, like, I did answer that question. I didn't mean to, you guys sucked me in. Stop. Don't ask the questions until I'm ready. All right. So there's a whole bunch of people saying hello, posting questions already. Hold off on those. I'm not going to answer any questions just yet. I want to talk about a couple things here before we do that. I'm going to flip over here to my screen. I'm going to move this over so it fits a little bit better. And then I want to show you what we have here. So first off, there's been some updates with respect to express entry. And one of the updates that you can see here is that immigration is now making changes to, or at least they're advising people to understand exactly how they're going to roll things out when it comes to the express entry process and the landing process for people who have already received confirmations of permanent residence, those who have expired confirmations of permanent residence. These are the instructions that they've now released right here. And I will make sure to put a link in the show notes, but you guys can Google it as well. COVID disease, COVID-19, immigrant applicants. The flights from India, you can see, are still suspended. We're hoping that July 21st, that will come to an end, but it'll just depend upon the situation in India. Okay, now if we go down here, it gives you specific instructions that I want to draw your attention to. All of you express entry candidates, people who have applied, who've been approved, who have confirmation of permanent residence that have expired. You can see here that they've got specifically, excuse me, they have specific instructions on what happens for you now. And the most important part that I want to point out is that you guys are not to travel on expired COPRs, okay? So if you haven't applied to immigrate to Canada yet, they're accepting the applications, everything's fine. If you're still permanent resident applications that we're still processing, if we didn't send you an official letter telling you that we made a final decision, it's still in process. Why are they doing this? Because they're being inundated by thousands and thousands of requests. Okay, so you don't need anything to do. You don't need to do anything. We'll contact you if you need more information. So they're trying to cut down, and so many people asking, what about my application? I've given you everything. Is there something more that I need to do? And so at this stage anyways, they're basically trying to tell you, stop calling us. We will let you know the moment there's any movement forward. There's nothing more that you need to do. Anyway, so as we go through this process, you can see here, this is what they're trying to do. They say that you should, if you are in process, they will be contacting you. And then they will give you 30 days from the date they contact you to get all of the information submitted. So when we're going through this process, it's important to realize that if any of your documents are expiring, there will be a process where you'll have to request new ones. But here's the thing. So you can see here, it says start collecting your documents. Well, of course, you already have, all of you should have your documents, and so you're going to go out, you're going to make sure that everything is up to date. But if you go through here, you can see, let me just see, I'm going to flip back here. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to flip over to the other notification. I'm going to scroll down. Okay, so right here, a little bit further down, you'll see that there's a section, if we've already approved your permanent resident application. This is really, really important. So you can see if you're outside Canada and your COPR and permanent resident visa are still valid, well, okay, you can see as of June 21st, okay, if you hold a valid, and you can see here, not expired confirmation of permanent residence and visa, you can travel to Canada now. So that was something that we announced already a couple weeks ago. Well, really on June 21st, right around there. That was a big, big deal because anyone with valid COPRs, and many of them were issued back in November when they thought this, after the first wave of the pandemic was over, that it would open up. So it says you must be coming to Canada to settle permanently, so no flag polling. Okay, and show that you're able to quarantine for 14 days. So that's kind of the rule right now. That's kind of how it's set up. They've given you instructions here on what to do before you travel. You need to use the ArriveCan app, which I actually have, and I think many of you probably are not even aware of this. I've created a course specific. If you go to the Canadian Immigration Institute, you click on courses. I'll shrink that down. You'll see down here. I wonder if we still have it. Oh, do you know what? I took it down. Okay, forget that. we had an ArriveCan app. Okay, a course specifically for that. Okay, now you can see here, you follow all the instructions and okay, here we go. So if you're outside Canada and your COPA and permanent resident visa are expired or expiring, you're exempt from the travel restrictions no matter what date we issued your COPA if you're traveling to Canada with a valid COPA and coming to live and settle. But here's the key, guys. You can't travel to Canada on expired documents. So just to reiterate, what they're saying is they're going to, the wheels are starting to move. Those of you who've been sitting forever, wondering what the future holds, you know, to a large extent, immigration has started to reach out to you, and you should be receiving correspondence from them that advises you to, if you need to update medicals, if you need to update police certificates, to get those, to start moving forward with those. But understand, you can't travel on an expired COPA, so they need to actually reissue another one. And so this will slowly start to roll out. And you can see here, we're also working to contact anyone else with expired COPAs, including those issued after March 18th. So this is exactly what's going to happen. They will, the first thing they'll do is they'll send an email. So watch your MyCIC account. Once you get that email, then it will give you specific instructions that relate to you. They're working through the system. Everybody's going to be at different stages. And so in that email, you must watch carefully and you must answer it quickly. That is critical. And you must tell them that, yes, you still want to come to Canada. As ridiculous as that sounds, yes. It says, we may ask you for new medicals or updated information. If you don't respond, we'll close your file. Isn't that crazy? So after waiting all this time, so watch those emails, watch it carefully, make sure it's not going to your junk folder or that you've changed your email address or you've forgotten which email you use. Make sure you track it very, very carefully. And then they'll double check to make sure if your family situation has changed. Some of you may have gotten married. Some of you may have children, and all of that needs to be dealt with. Or maybe you were divorced or whatever it might be. And so you know, if that's the case, then they'll need to give you instructions for updating those. And, you know, obviously any documents that were previously submitted and are no longer valid may also need to be updated. So here's the thing, though, that I want to point out, which I find very curious. They specifically tell you not to do another upfront medical exam. So essentially what they're going to do is they're going to issue you new instructions for you to take to the doctor. And if you do that and you wait and don't do it, just a brand new upfront medical, they claim that the process will actually go faster. So take that into consideration when you're doing this, that if you are, if you know your medicals are expired, which many of you who, you know, have been waiting since March of last year, they will have expired. You make sure that you hold off, and they've specifically told you not to do another upfront medical. Okay. And then of course they're saying, don't contact us via a web form. You know, just wait for our instructions. And here's another thing. We expect people with COPA and permanent resident visas that are valid until October 1st, 2021 or after to have enough time to come to Canada before your documents expire. So that's what in other words, they're really getting on this. Okay. So you can see here instructions for traveling to Canada. And then they talk about landings in Canada, which most of people are already, that was never terribly interrupted. Ultimately, the landing process for you who are in Canada is pretty straightforward. You're going to get notified by email, and you're going to go through one of two ways. Some of you just get an email that says, voila, you're a permanent resident. Others are prompted to register through the portal to complete the landing in that way. So if you're in Canada, just wait for the instructions. You're not in as worse a situation as the people that are stuck outside. And my heart goes out to all of you. It's you know, I can only imagine what your lives have been like as you've waited for this to change and waited for the country to open up. So yeah, my heart goes out to you guys. Okay, what else do we have here? For those who are applying through, and I won't worry about going through the rest, we've pretty much covered everything. The next thing that I want to point out is right here, applications for permanent residence subject to the express entry completeness check. This is the completeness check website, has been updated, and you can see right now, new application deadline. So if you received an ITA on or after yesterday, June 29th, 2021, you must submit your application for permanent residence within 60 days. Your individual MyCIC accounts should reflect this change. Now, remember, through the pandemic, it was expanded to 90 days because, well, the whole world got turned upside down. But if you are an individual who's received your invitation to apply before June 29th, so on June 28th or previously, then you are going to be able to benefit from the 90 days that's listed in your portal. But anyone who's getting an ITA now, they're back to 60 days. And what does that mean for all of you? It means that things are starting to move forward, that things are starting to open up, that things are starting to go back to hopefully some semblance of normal. So I won't get into too much more other than pointing those things out, but that it was important for me to share and just to get you guys up to date. And I know a lot of you are watching everything. You probably were aware of those notifications, but just in case, and you're watching to see what Mark has to say, those are the things that is, that really, really, as far as I'm concerned anyways, is critical for people that are in the process of applying for their express entry. Okay, let's see here. I'm just looking here. Okay, now what I want to do is, obviously, lots of people have posted questions, and and the key, if you want your questions answered, is to make sure you put a Q in front of it. So I will open it up now for you to post your questions. Make sure you put a Q in front of it. And then from there, I can know who's talking to who, answering each other's questions, and who is actually posting a question. So there we go. All right, so we'll start forward now. So if you want to post your questions, you can do that now. Okay, here we go. So football total. Do you think that all TR to PR applications will be processed this year? No, not a chance. It is going to be physically impossible for them to process all of the TR to PR pathway this year. In fact, in the Standing Committee on Immigration, the immigration officers who appeared before the Standing Committee to talk about the TR to PR pathway specifically talked about targets in the range of 40 to 50. And I think it was right around that range. And that's to be processed this year. And if you think about it, it's going to be a lot of those individuals that filed on day one, May 6th, right? There were over 40,000, well, probably 50,000 around there, applicants, maybe not quite 50, because there were essential workers. Obviously, all the 40,000 of the of the international grads went through. But there's no way they're going to process all of them. And remember, they're still Francophone. If you speak French, all of those programs are still wide open for you. And it's very, very, very easy for you to get permanent residence as a French speaker, because any of these international grads, the essential workers, all of those are open. So let's just take a quick peek at a couple things here. Okay, I'm going to open up the TR to PR pathway and let's just see where we're at. Let's flip our screen over and see what the numbers are. So you can see things are still growing really, really slow. Obviously, these filled up day one, you guys. But even for the essential workers, non-healthcare, there's still, over 12,000 spots that are still available. And the healthcare, there just are not many. Simple as that. There are just not many people. And so we don't know at this stage, and I'll answer this. We still have not heard. I just finished meetings with immigration again just 2 days ago. The question, came up as to whether or not they were going to be opening it up or anything like that. No word, still no word on this. So we're not sure if they're going to open up again to the international grads. We just don't know. So at this stage, you can see how slow it's working, and you can see 17,872. Then if we go over here, rounds of invitations, let's open it up and let's take a peek here and let's see what we have. So you guys can see the last one happened last week. There was the biggest scoop next to, well, the lowest ITA level, the CRS level, sorry, that was issued since the beginning of, February the 13th, or right around that date when what was it? It was 27,332 invitations were extended with a low of 75. So consistently, they've still shown that they're still doing CECs. And so how much longer are they going to do CECs? We're not sure. 357 is where we're sitting right now for CRS score of the lowest candidate. And they continue to do large draws of 6,000. If we go back and take a look at the rounds of invitations themselves, actually, I don't want to check the ministerial instructions. I want to look at the previous rounds. when you look at the previous rounds here, you can see it followed the same kind of pattern. Although this was a large PNP draw, there was quite a few that were extended there, 1,002. And then for CEC, you can see the same pattern, PNP, CEC, PNP, CEC. So until these travel restrictions are officially opened, it looks to me like they're holding off. And so are they going to do more CECs next month? I think so. I think that we're going to see at least one, maybe two more CEC only draws. And then maybe in August, they're going to open it up. Nobody knows. And there's also, you'll remember from the budget that there's a potential that they may be making changes to the comprehensive ranking system criteria. Maybe they may adjust it and add points for occupations in specific areas. So all of those are things that I want basically just to answer in advance, because I know people are asking that question repeatedly. Okay. Okay, Yash here says, should I apply for postgrad work permit within Canada while my PR application is in progress? I'm worried about dual intent. Yash, dual intent, you can throw it out the door when you're in Canada. It's irrelevant. Never will immigration ever refuse a temporary application when you have a permanent resident application in the queue when you're in Canada. It just doesn't apply, because when you apply for permanent residence, they specifically tell you it's your obligation to maintain temporary status. So why in the world would they ever, under any circumstance, apply, some type of a lack of temporary intent? Now, remember, when you say here, I'm worried about dual intent scenarios, the legislation specifically allows for dual intent, right? So this is something that people are somewhat confused about. Dual intention means that you can have the intention to immigrate permanently and at the same time have the intention to abide by any temporary conditions imposed on any status or visa that you've been issued. So the legislation allows for you to have this dual intent. But the problem is with immigration, when you're applying from outside of Canada, you also have to show when you're applying for those that you have an intention to return back to your home country. And so sometimes they will use, now they can't use it exclusively, but they will use it as one factor of many if you've already applied for PR to justify refusing a visitor visa or something like that, because they feel that that permanent intention is stronger than and almost overrides the temporary intention that you will actually return home. But there's so many other factors, Yash. You don't need to worry about anything if you're in Canada. Of course, you're going to apply. There's no issues. Anyone outside of Canada, it depends on more than just that. It depends on the country where you're coming from. It depends upon just the rates of, I don't even know what you want to call it. I guess misrepresentation possibly that exist, in certain countries and in certain visa offices. So all those things play a role. Okay, let's see what we've got here. So Grace has applied for the TR to PR pathway. I'm now taking a different job in another city. Would that negatively affect my application in process? No, just update them. Advise them of the address change. You can totally do that. Okay, Jeevan says, hi Mark, can we expect PPR request anytime soon? Well, I think you can. I think the government now, depending upon the country where you're at, remember, each country still has their own social distancing, their own COVID rules. And if the visa office where you're at is not yet open, where they can have a whole bunch of officers working there, then it's going to be a lot slower than another country where COVID is not as significant of an issue. Okay. Okay. Leonardo says, my TR to PR pathway was paid double due to congested website on May 6th. However, I got my 2 receipt refunded. What can I do now once we then don't accept a request using web form? So you got, I can't remember if you say, however, I got my 2nd receipt refunded. Well, did you get both of them refunded or just the 2nd one? So, ultimately, if you have one receipt, and I can't tell from your question, if you have one receipt that's still in there, well, there shouldn't be an issue. But if you got both of them refunded, well, then you need to very quickly submit a web form regardless of whether they want it or not. And I would still submit a web form and update them. And like I said, the same instructions they followed before, even though they say we're not going to accept it, when it's their mistake, you're going to do everything that you can, Leonardo, to make sure that you're doing everything on your part. Okay. Will TR to PR pathway applications, AORs, and processing speed up in the future? No, I don't think so. I think well, it might speed up a little bit as the officers kind of hit their full complement, like as they ramp up and they find their sweet spot and they get more efficient. But the reality is it's actually going to slow down as time goes on. So the first people that got them approved in like a month and a half, it's going to slowly get longer just because officers are now taking in more applications and there's going to be the backlogs that they're going to hit. So yes, I think it will actually go longer. Okay. Oh, it looks like I pulled up the wrong one. Sorry. I clicked on Karthik here and I meant to, yeah. So there's the answer to Karthik. And then Dharmesh says, applied under the international graduate category. I just realized that I made a mistake in the passport number in the form. Do you think my application get rejected? I don't think so, Dharmesh. I don't think those small little things are going to justify a refusal. And if you go back to if you're watching it, like Dharmesh, you're watching here on YouTube. If you go back to the YouTube channel, you can actually go back and watch the video that I did where I talked about, where I specifically talked about the government's instructions that they released, the program delivery instructions specifically. So if you go back, let me just shift my screen over here and see if I can find it. Yeah, there's some great content here. Let's see if we can go back here. Trying to remember what it is. Critical new update. I think it's this one right here, the one that's got 25,000 views. This one is where we talked about the new program delivery instructions that were launched. So go check that one out. Okay, good question, Dharmesh. I love the queues. Sachin's got like 5,000 queues here. I'm just being facetious. One queue is sufficient. From Toronto, applied pathway, but I also got invitation CRS draw. Should I go with invitation or stay in pathway? Do both. Do both, my friend. I will tell you that forever until they make you choose. Do both. Keep all your options open. Okay, and those who have a very, very long question that will take me about 2 minutes to read, I'm going to skip past that because more often than not, it tends to be one of these, which when I ring that little bell, that basically means right here that this is a legal question that really you need to slide over to holthylaw.com, which is my law firm website. Yes, I think you guys all know I'm an immigration lawyer. Flip over here. Anytime I ring the bell, you're going to go here and you're going to book a consult. And there's a link below in the description in any event. But if you have a specific question, especially those of you who are posting ones that are really, really long, remember, it has to be general in nature. And the longer they are, it becomes something that's specific to you and doesn't benefit everybody else. So I'm going to choose questions that will be of the most benefit to everyone. Because, guys, I cannot get through all of these. It's physically impossible to answer everybody's question. And so if it's small, general, and will benefit the most people, those are the ones that are going to get answered. If you have a big, long one that relates just to you, then I'll ring the bell and then go and book a consult. Okay. Okay. And some people are asking questions like Kaushik. I'm not actually going to go through his in detail because it's a big one, but basically immigration can do whatever they want. And new applications that are coming through, processing times, they sometimes depending upon which office it goes to, the officers are able to process things quicker. And he's asking basically, he says, why are new 2021 applications approved in 2 to 4 months when backlogs are not cleared up? And so the reality is immigration, the new ones that come through sometimes are easier to process and to get finalized and to count towards that cap. Whereas older ones may have problems with, just a whole bunch of other issues that are going to delay. And yeah, it sucks, Kaushik, I agree, but it's just a reality and there's nothing that you can do to really change the situation. Okay, Grace says, applied for TR to PR Pathway. I'm now taking a different job. Okay, I already answered that one. Okay, maybe it's being pulled up twice. I'm not sure. I don't, Boris. I'm not sure if anyone TR to PR French got their AOR yet, but ultimately it's not so much about the French as it is about the time in which you submitted your application. Okay, and I love this. Okay, so Muhammad says, please at least change your shirt color. I think that's what he's asking. Oh, Muhammad, I am so sorry. Is this shirt bothering you? Oh, I feel so sad for Muhammad because he has to look at my shirt over. Do you know what, Muhammad? For you, the next time I do a live, I'll wear a different shirt. Okay? All right. Yes. Yes. It's so important to make sure that you're looking good, looking sharp, and not offending the eyes of people, because I'm sure it really is really hard for Muhammad to watch me wearing this shirt. How about the tie though, Muhammad? Do you like the tie? That's awesome. Open season, guys. It's open season. Okay, I'm doing great. When do you think international grad will reopen? Okay, as we indicated, we don't have any information about that. I didn't have my language doc, but qualify for it now. Yeah, there's many Ferris that are in your situation. The moment I hear anything, trust me, you guys will be the first to know. Okay. Okay, Raman's asking a question that I can probably make some sense of. He says, do I have to apply in federal also if I apply to PNP? So every PNP application that you submit is always finalized with the federal government. In other words, the PNP issues the nomination, IRCC finalizes it. Some of those PNP nominations are paper-based that don't go through express entry. Some go through express entry, but they all end up, they all end up with the federal government. Okay, and people like this, like I'm saying here, specialist doctor, this is where I ring the bell. Book a consult, my friend, and let's chat and let's see what options you have available. Okay, let's see what else here. Yes, Olu says, new policy today exempting some foreign nationals in Canada from requiring an immigration medical exam. Yes, exactly. And that's another one that if that I forgot to pull up and share with you guys. So I will definitely talk about that in a future video. Thanks, Olu. If you want to post the link to it, go ahead, my friend. Okay, can I apply as a non-accompanying spouse while in Canada on a study permit and a work permit? It's going to be really, really difficult, Jacob, for you to say that you're not coming to Canada. In other words, accompanying your spouse when you're actually living and working in Canada. I think an officer in some cases is going to say this doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Okay. So my short answer is no, I would never, ever apply in those circumstances because it just doesn't make sense. And I've seen situations where officers have refused applications in those circumstances. And in some case, they've tried to say that it was misrepresentation, saying that the spouse wasn't coming when you were already here. And you never want to put yourself in that position. Okay, Summit says, I worked as a student full-time, okay, from 1st of May 2020 to 31st of August. And can I use this experience in TR to PR in central category? Sumit, you can use any work history that you obtained, even when it's not full-time, while you're going to school, as long as it was in the previous 3 years and as long as it was in one of the NOC codes that's within the essential worker category. So there's no problems with that. There's no restrictions at all, as long as you were authorized to actually work. So if you return back to school in, in September of 2020, and that was a regular scheduled break, then yeah, there's no problems with that at all. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, Luz, I think they're only processing by time of condition. So basically, TR to PR, do you think they're only processing by time of submission, and taking into consideration other streams? No, when it comes to TR to PR, it is first in. They're not like taking some over others. Okay, and like I said, anyone who's asking specific questions that I'm not that are just really, really drilled into you, I'd encourage you to book a consult, and then we can deal with it specifically. Okay, so we've got a bunch here of questions that relate to the same. Okay, Sherma says, can I apply under the federal skilled worker class from within Canada after completing a course as an international student? Sure. Yeah, if you meet the eligibility for the FSW, you can apply from within Canada. Venetia, the French stream, like I said, TR to PR, I think it more relates to the date that you specifically submitted your application for the TR to PR and not necessarily the stream. Okay, Kiki says, if one has a dual citizenship, okay, and has not been to country of birth for over 6 years, my question is, can the person provide PCC for both countries? Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're asking. The reality is, it's what have you done in the last 10 years since turning 18? Have you been in each of those countries for at least 6 months or more in the previous 10 years? Then if the answer is yes, then you need a police certificate. It's as simple as that. Yes. And so Pramod asks about processing as well. FSW Outland, watch, because things are starting to move. It depends on the country, right? And at this stage, they don't release that kind of data for us. And so any insight in terms of processing, we'll just have to watch. All I know is that with the recent announcements, things are starting to move forward. Rupinder says, is casual experience counted for TR to PR? Well, they say, I don't see there's any reason with, they say 1,560 hours and full-time is 30 hours a week. You know, casual, I guess it depends upon how long it's going to take you to meet the 1,560. Rupinder, there's like when it comes to express entry, you have to work either part-time or full-time. And when it comes to TR to PR, sometimes you do work more than 15 hours, right? Sometimes you work 16 or 17 hours a week, and then others you work 12 or 13. Well, immigration has said in those circumstances that you can average that to meet the 15 for part-time. So that's, you know, if you're close and you're looking at TR to PR, you guys, there is no harm in trying, none. If you're an essential worker, there's space. If you get your application refused because immigration doesn't feel that you had the hours, or there's, you know, or the calculation that you did doesn't meet their requirements, then it will get refused, but it will not impact you negatively in any way if they just feel you don't meet the eligibility. So Rupinder, if you feel you're close, then go for it. It's probably best, once again, that you book a consult with myself or one of the immigration lawyers in my firm so that we can sort it out exactly what your hours are. And I'm going to show you guys one other thing here. I'm going to flip my screen around and I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you and this is what it would look like for you when you log into the course and you check all of your courses. I'm going to go to my library here and I'm going to scroll down and I've got some samples here, TR to PR. If I go to the TR to PR here and go into the actual course, which is available for purchase right now. And if you go into mastering your documents, and then the one that most people are struggling with, which is the proof of qualifying work experience right here, you'll see that I have not only explanations, I have a video that is 15 minutes long explaining how immigration is going to work through it, and then a whole bunch of other information to help guide you. You can see tons of links, and then at the bottom, you'll see right here, I've got a ton of different stuff available for download. One of them, International Grad Checklist, Essential Worker Hours of Work Tool. So this is designed to help you calculate your hours of work. And so I would encourage you, Rupinder, to consider subscribing to the course. And right now it's 50% off. So when you go to the site and you click on the link, I can't remember if the link's in the description below, but you go to see our courses, right here you can see it's 50% off. And so you get access to, you know, all 30 plus videos and all the resources for basically a fraction of well, half of what it was when the course was first launched. Why? Because I'm not going live in the course right now, but you access to the Facebook group, everybody that's in there. This is the TR to PR pathway, you can see, and it's $173.50 US, which it's a US company that hosts it. So it was easier just to bill in US dollars. And then the last thing I'll point out here is the awesome Facebook group, which I think I've talked about a little bit with you guys before. But when you subscribe to the TR to PR pathway or express entry or any of the courses, there's a masterclass associated with it. So if I go over here, let's see if it pops up. I just completed my last express entry and there's the TR to PR pathway. I think we have about 430 people that are in here. And let's just pull it up. Yeah, so we've got about 430 people, but you have access to this, including our tracking sheet, and you can see where everybody's at. So you post your questions and people jump in and help one another. And it's just an awesome group because it's everybody that's only in the TR to PR pathway that's a part of that group. So there you go, Rupinder. Okay. Okay, this person's over, clicked on the wrong one right here. Okay, so this person is watching on the Express Entry Law Private Facebook group. What about files that are already in process and are stuck at security? Well, understand, lots of times they're stuck because of the challenges in verifying things because the other country is slow in responding because of the pandemic. So there's not a lot you can do, but if it's been processing a very, very long time, like we're talking 2 years or more and it's still stuck, then there are mandamus applications and things that us immigration lawyers can file in federal court to, you know, just to basically force the government to look at it and process. So there's a whole host of issues that apply. We always will request the GCMS notes to see if there's anything associated with it. But if truly it's been sitting and stalled out for years, then you can file a mandamus application to basically tell the government, look, like it's beyond reasonable now. You have to start moving forward. Okay. All right. Any healthcare stream? I'm sure there are, Manvi, and people can actually post if they're in here and they've received their AOR as a healthcare, then please by all means do. Okay. And I'm assuming, Manvi, that you've submitted under that category. So congratulations to you. Okay. SN says, please share some light on student visas. You know, there isn't much really to notify. You'll remember they announced before that if you submitted it was in May, if you submitted your complete application, they guaranteed that it would be approved by, I think, the beginning of August. Other than that, it's open. Like, it depends on the country. It depends upon the visa office processing. It depends upon the backlogs, but they did make a commitment that as of May, if you had your application completely submitted by then, that they would guarantee that your application would be processed by August. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be approved. There's going to be lots of people with refused applications too. But by right around August is when they were going to have them done. If you don't fit into that realm, then, well, you just have to cross your fingers that it's going to come through. Okay, let's see here. All right, continue on here. Yeah, Ada says, when do you think the Epis will be back? Well, the reality is, watch the travel restrictions. I've talked about this a lot in the past. I'm hoping August. I'll be honest. I'm hoping August, and you know, at least August. You know, at the latest, they'll start to do open draws. As you can see, they're starting to process. They're starting to move forward. People with approved COPRs can now travel, and so we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I feel for you. Okay, Hitesh says, I got invitation as well as I applied for the TR to PR. No mistake, which just keep everything open, Hitesh. So I always tell people, if you have multiple options and you don't mind the processing fee, well, then go for it. There is no guarantees with anything anymore. The slightest little mistake can result in an application getting returned, especially express entry. I can't tell you how many consults I do each week with people who miss small little things that resulted in their applications getting rejected. And that may be it, especially you Feb 13ers, you draw 176. Man, is it ever going to come down as low as 75 again? Well, it's slowly creeping. Like, we're at what, down to 357 or something? That's creeping, but you may never get another chance. TR to PR, same story. So if I have multiple options, I pursue all of them, and I wait till immigration makes me choose. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. Okay, so Tori asked an interesting question for the Atlantic Pilot graduate program. If I move from Nova Scotia to New Brunswick, is that okay? That's a question that I don't have an answer for, Tori. I don't do a lot of those applications, and so it's interesting. If you guys go back, I'll show you one other thing too. So another resource that many of you don't know, if you travel a lot and you're doing like, and you travel for work, you commute, immigration podcast, you probably, this is where you want to go. So you want to go here. Man, that's an old picture of me. You want to go here and you want to access the podcast. And in here, you'll see Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, AIPP. I do tons of, oh, do you know what? I think now these, oh yes, we're moving these over to our firm website. That's where we're moving them. Let's see. My son, Adam, some of you may have come in contact with my son. In our blog and in our resources, I believe we are now moving over the podcast episodes, I think over here. Yes. Okay, I wonder if we've reached that stage yet. Probably not. Okay, we'll find it though. We'll find it. Let's just see. Canadian Immigration Podcast. See if we can find, there it is. Okay. So here you'll see, this is a podcast that I did on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. And now this is just the pilot program. It's not the international grad, but Janet Thompson Price, she came and talked to me. She's a lawyer out in New Brunswick, and I'd strongly encourage you to reach out to her. And if you go to this episode, and you can just search it, the best program in Canada, Atlantic Immigration Pilot. We did that a number of years ago. How long has it been since we last did that? I don't even remember. Anyways, reach out to Janet. She's awesome. And I always direct people back to the experts really who are in those provinces. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Yeah, how many Tirath says, do you have any idea how many TR to PR pathway applications for international grads they're processing per day? I don't know how many they are. Rohit says, can we withdraw a TRV application which was submitted? I think I've made a few mistakes in the forms. Can I cancel the old one and apply for a new TRV with correct details? Yes, you can. Rohit, you absolutely can cancel. Yes, you can withdraw. Now, immigration always says it's up to them. They can make a determination whether or not they will allow you to withdraw it, but you can always make the request. Okay, remember to put a Q in front of your question. Okay, do you know what? I'm going to pull this up, Nishant, just because you're asking something that's really, really important. How to verify LMIA number and job offer letter. If you are asking that question, by and large, Nishant, you're being scammed, because people who actually have valid LMIAs never have any doubt because they've communicated with the employer. They know everything is legitimate. They haven't paid someone for it. So all of those things play a huge role in the process. Now, with that being said, what I want to do is just jump back in here, and I'm going to log back in, and I'm going to show you guys a few things that I have here. So this will be of some assistance to you. So let's just go back to the Canadian Immigration Institute, and I'm going to log into one of my express entry courses. And this is designed to help you guys avoid the most common pitfalls. So let's go into the last one that we did. So we'll view the course. So here's the course. This is for the group June 21st to the 25th. And if I go into mastering your documents, and then I go into, I think it's an offer of employment. Okay, so if I click on offer of employment, and then you go down, and you can see here, sample LMIAs. All right, so there's a couple different ones. So if I open this up, I wonder if this will actually let me show you right here on the screen. Yes, okay. So this was just issued just this year. And this LMIA, this is what it looks like. Now in the top right corner up here, you'll see, let's close this. Okay, in the top right corner, you'll see that's where your LMIA number is. But yours, it should look like this. If it doesn't look like this, my friend, then you're being scammed. And employment details, all of your information in here, like, yeah, otherwise you're scammed. Now this page you often aren't given because it's just the employer that has it for their record because they have multiple people in here. But I can tell you that this LMIA, and this one's for a food service supervisor, this is what it should look like. Okay, and if it doesn't, then, well, you can probably suspect that it's that it's going to be fraudulent. And remember, guys, you can't pay someone for a job. If you do, it's illegal. And immigration, will not take kindly. And generally, if you're paying for one, you're ripe for being scammed. Okay. Yeah, so I'll finish off with Rama here. We're just at the tail end. It says, hi, Mark, thanks for all that you do. I am an FSW Outlander candidate. How much time do you think IRCC will provide for travel to Canada post-approval? So we know that the expiry dates on the PR visas often expire after 1 year from the date that you obtained your medical. But with everything that's happening now, we're just not certain whether or not they're going to extend. And for many people that were outside, it's more than likely they're going to ask you to get another immigration medical if yours is expired for quite a while. And if they ask you to get another immigration medical, then theoretically that PR visa should give you a whole lot more time to wrap up your affairs and travel. And so we'll watch and see how that plays out. But that's basically how you know. It's how long, when did you obtain your immigration medical? And 1 year from that date is usually when the PR visa expires. But if it's already expired, more than likely they're going to, and you're outside Canada, they're going to ask you to get a new one, which will then theoretically provide you with a much, much longer window of time to travel. All right. Okay, let's see here. You know what? We've got just one more minute and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. Manendra says, bridging open work permit for TR to PR pathway applicants. In AOR, it says few applicants might be eligible for bridging open work permit. When can we expect update from IRC on this? This is a question we bring up with them all the time. Because right now, remember, the TR to PR pathway is not considered a part of the bridging open work permit program. And they're going to need to create something. They're going to need to make regulatory changes to the bridging program or another H&C type exemption like they did for the 18-month one-time extension for postgrads. They would have to create a separate one for people that applied through the TR to PR pathway, but we just don't know where it's at right now. So I'll let you know the moment I hear anything. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in today. It was another really, really good live Q&A. Those of you who are unable to get your questions answered, understand we've got an hour to try and go through here. I tried my very best to pick questions that are going to be the most benefit to the most people that are watching lives. We do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And if you have a question that's really specific, I'm an immigration lawyer. This is my law firm, Holthe Immigration Law. And all you have to do is click book a consult. And then when you scroll down, you can choose which lawyer you want to book your consult with, myself, Alicia, Susan. And you literally go in and you click on the link and it pulls up my calendar. And so June is over. So of course I've got one more day, but if you go into July, you can see the dates that are available. So yes, I have some holidays planned, but I still have quite a few days that are open. So jump in there and I'd love to connect with you. And usually in that short 25-minute period, we can resolve all the issues. We can assess where you're going. I can give you advice on everything from TR to PR to express entry, whatever it may be. Each lawyer within my firm, if you look at the firm website, you can see there's areas of focus. And it's not that I don't provide advice in other areas, but I traditionally focus on these areas. Now I could put TR to PR pathway in there, but we just never updated the website because it was kind of a one-time deal. But you can see Alicia and Susan all have broader areas of expertise. And so any areas that you would like to focus on, take a look at the lawyer, see what's offered, and then go from there. And then for my dear good friend Mohammed, I'm going to make sure that I wear a different shirt next time because I don't want anyone to feel like, they have to look at something as ugly as this shirt is, apparently. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. I'll keep you posted as always. And I wish you all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Canadian immigration. See you later.